Yes.
Thank you for a very wonderful class, Maharaj. Focusing on the essence versus details. These days, I am observing that quite a good number of devotees, they have taken a certain type of perspective. They say that our ISKCON movement began with a big bang, with missionary activities and neglect of children and neglect of health of devotees and such kinds of things in the days of Srila Prabhupada. And after a decade or two, eventually things fell apart, and now our movement is actually working towards sustenance.
Now it's going towards sustenance.
Sustenance. So they say that
sustenance.
Sustenance in terms of health of devotees, care for the devotees, and first, have your legs in the ground before you can have your head in the clouds.
Have your legs on the ground before you can have your head in the clouds. But then they're saying that the ground and the clouds are connected. Right? Then they're saying that by mundane welfare work, mundane activities, of social activities, that's the foundation for spiritual life. Can they give some evidence for that? Can they discuss philosophy based on that?
No.
No. So this is the whole point, is that it's surrender to Krishna. When they say it started with a bang, right? And just for their, just for reference, their whole modern professional world is going nicely because scientists believe in a big bang. So they can't get too grumpy about big bangs, right? In fact, I think they're on the 11th season now, so it's quite popular, right? Okay? So now this bang, what was the bang? Can they explain the bang? What's the bang?
Maharaj, I wish to clarify my question.
No.
I am not talking about the non-devotees.
I know, I'm talking directly about devotees. Devotees who are educated professionals, who make good amounts of money, are very expert at doing what they do, and everything like that. And I'm talking about those devotees. Why would I talk about the karmis? We never talk about the karmis.
Yeah. So,
like that.
Maharaj,
so therefore, what's the big bang? What was the bang? What made the bang a bang? Can they explain that?
Pure devotional service.
Yes. So now, is there ever a problem in pure devotional service?
They feel it has.
Yes. So then, therefore, just according to Shastra, will their spiritual life ever be viable and sustainable, since sustenance is their main thing? Will it be viable? If you don't have faith in Guru and Sadhu and Shastra, do you have actually any position in spiritual life?
No.
Yes. Okay. So that's the whole point, is that it was surrender. It's the same thing that Bali Maharaj. He surrendered to the Lord. Now, the whole point is, what's the more difficult thing? Surrendering to the Lord or being materialistically knowledgeable, skilled, cultured? Which of the two is more difficult?
Yeah, surrender to the Lord.
Surrender to the Lord. So first let them surrender, then they can talk about a big bang in that. Otherwise, they should not talk out of their, what do you call it? Pay grade. In other words, when they're down in the first nursery school, right? Because in India you have 2 nurseries, 2 kindergartens. So I'm talking about, day 1 on, or day 3. Give them a little break here. I wouldn't want to be too, uncompromising. In the nursery school, and then now they're going to talk about the PhD level. They're going to talk about something higher, or at least even, secondary school or something. And then they're going to talk with such, as if they have such authority. The point is what's missing? So in other words, they don't know what's missing. They can only say there's a big bang. Okay, it's pure devotional service, but I guarantee you, you're saying that, not them. You're observing that. They wouldn't have a clue what it is. They'll just take it by the secondary external forms of preaching. They won't actually understand it's the surrender to Prabhupada, that they're willing to do anything for Prabhupada, give up anything, go anywhere. Like that. People started temples, going to a place with no money, no contacts, no place to stay, no food, no nothing. They would just go someplace, find a public place, sit down, start doing some kirtan. People would come around, they start talking and all this and that, and then they'd end up having a place to stay and making devotees, and then after 3 months they had a temple. Name me one person from this group you're talking about that would give up anything that they have. They won't give up nothing. These people walked out. We're not talking about bums off the street. We're talking about kids from aristocratic, wealthy families that just saw that all the things that everybody's saying the secondary is so important, they just saw how hollow it was and gave it up. But they didn't know how to turn to real spiritual life, so they just became hippies. And then Prabhupada came and showed them what was real spiritual life. You understand? So, we're not even talking on the same page here. Talk sustenance, they can't maintain nothing if they tried. I mean, literally, on the spiritual platform. They may organize things nicely, but as far as the spiritual environment, because, does that make sense? So, now, what's the whole point to be made here? Now, let's look at it scientifically. What's there is the primary was then. Now, if I'm going to give you the primary or the secondary, you're starting new. You know nothing. Which should I give you first, primary or secondary? Primary, because that can be learned and understood immediately. Secondary, that's going to take years and years and years to train. What's a Gurukul training? Standard, just according to the regular standard scriptural. 12 years, right? Okay, so you're going to wait 12 years before you give them the actual thing? So that means, and Prabhupada was here for 11. Okay, so now what's happening is you get the primary thing of surrender to Krishna, which they did. Now, in that, you still have to teach them the secondary, how to behave, how to interact, how to deal with everything. That takes time. And so now these smug people are going to say that, oh, well, that didn't work, and now we're doing the real thing, as if they understand the difference between matter and spirit. That's the first verse of Bhagavatam. Truth is the difference between matter and spirit. And so they can't tell the difference. And I mean it, literally. You want to have a discussion with them on philosophy, they can't do it. They may know so many facts and figures and shlokas and that, but they only know them from the secondary point of view. They don't actually understand the primary, which is surrender to Krishna. Sarva dharmam parityaja. They're saying, no, we have to practice these religious principles. That's what makes devotional service. Bhakti is dependent upon my mundane morality. And not only that, it's not morality given in the Vedas, it's the morality that me and my friends from us who went to, all these good schools and all this and that, what we say is the real thing, not what the Vedas say. So it's not even theistic. So it's morality. But it's non-theistic morality. And it's not seen in how it connects to Krishna. They'll say, oh, but if you're not nice, people won't accept it. Why did those people join at those times? We're going to say all of them were idiots? Because they joined it, they were uncultured? Ambarish Prabhu is uncultured and a fool because he joined back then when people were all rough and ready. No, they're so intelligent, they see beyond the secondary to the primary. They have the secondary. In other words, real successful people will never say this. Only quasi people who are proud of their materialism will say this. And I mean that.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Does that make sense? So in other words, they should stop trying to do this and in other words, they're trying to give weight to their materialistic attachments and try to pawn it off as spiritual life.
Yeah.
This doesn't mean that devotees aren't cultured and do everything nice. But when you're coming from the Mleccha and Yavana backgrounds, you can't expect that they're going to be fabulous from day one. They'll still smell like Mlechas and Yavanas. Just like these corporate people still smell corporate. I mean like stinky corporate, like Limburger cheese corporate. You know what I'm saying? They don't even know about, what is it called? Not casual, non-corporate Friday, where they just stop talking all the jargon and just behave like normal human beings. It's that, so like, give it up. Is that the pure devotional service, what we're doing, the culture's there, it's all in Prabhupada's books. If people don't pick it up because they're not cultured, that's not the book's fault, that's not the movement's fault, that's not the Big Bang's fault. And then they're going to switch it and say that their mundane morality, now that's the cat's meow. And then how well does that mundane morality, when this group of people you're talking about go around the world and preach, how well do they do in establishing it in those yatras? It falls on its face, literally. They may think it's going great, but literally it's falling on its face. Why? Because no one else buys their particular brand of morality. They have their own. If you want to get mundane on morality, every country has its own morality. So why should they buy, Bombay morality? Even in Delhi they don't like it. And they're definitely not going to follow it in Chennai. They're too practical. In Bengalis, it doesn't have enough personalness. So no one will buy it. They might take a few of the external forms, but the actual mood no one wants. So one has to be very, very careful to tell the difference between what's spiritual and what's material. And yes, devotees are supposed to be cultured, but what's the solution? Only devotional service can make you cultured, because this other thing that you're talking about, that's very, very arrogant. That's like putting aside work that all of them together could not do what one person did. You know what I'm saying? You've got thousands and tens of thousands of professional people, but I think you only in your circle have about 7 temples. But in those days, one devotee go out and start a temple on his own. He heard about Krishna consciousness, they're there in New York. Then Mukunda just goes to the West Coast, San Francisco. Prabhupada shows up after a few months. There are 50 devotees that are there. And what are they talking? Direct philosophy. We're the soul, we're not the body, we're servant of Krishna. Developing love for Krishna is the ultimate goal of life. The process is through chanting. That's the essence of philosophy. I mean literally. Everything else is simply supporting these 3 things. That's what Lord Chaitanya said. Every one of those hippies knew that. You look at it. George Harrison's introduction of the Krishna book is talking about how Krishna is in everything and how people, what they're looking for in their life is Krishna in everything. And these professionals you're talking about wouldn't have a clue about that, but these hippies knew it. So, you know what I'm saying? So this is the problem, is that we're not understanding what was there and what was lacking. What was lacking was simply being cultivated in how to just behave nicely. They as karmis didn't behave nicely. So as devotees they didn't behave nicely. It's not that they were fabulous as karmis and then as devotees they became rat bags. You understand? So that's the whole point. It's just you act according to your conditioning. Then it gets purified and then it develops. And it takes a long time because we're dealing with unlimited lifetimes to purify. And simply because someone's at a more pious background in the cycle of samsara, when they take up devotional service, that of course is special and that's good. But if they're proud of that, what's the difference between them and the smartest? You know what I'm saying? Like, where were they? Where were their fathers? Where were their grandfathers? They weren't coming forward. Krishna consciousness was there in India from that time. In fact, it was there in India 20 years before. Right? Prabhupada started in 44, started the BTG. Where were they coming forward? So, who's the, so it wasn't, at least there was a bang over there. Over here it was, the great fizzle. The great useless, Hindu, Shmindu, Bindu. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, what are we talking here? They already had their shot, and they wasted it. And then just by one person saying, okay, maybe there's something here. One Hindu gave him a ticket to America. All the rest of them couldn't care less. So it's not that all these people that are saying this, their grandfather didn't hear about Prabhupada. They just didn't care. So what's their position to make these comments about it's a big bang and now it's all gone, now we're into sustainability? They're not into sustainability. Sustaining what? Sustaining devotional life? And that's only if you understand the core, which is pure devotional service. That's all. Because these other things, Hindus have been doing that for a long time and doing much better. They live in little pigeonholes in Bombay. You call that maintenance? like that. You know, if you have a nice bungalow and you have space and land, now that's maintenance. But they've given that up. They all have ancestral homes, but they don't even go there. Why? Because they want to be in the big bad city. You know, because this is where it's all happening, all the money. No, they could live very comfortably out there in the village. You know, they have land, they have all that stuff. Guaranteed. Right? Unless they already sold it. You know, but their father had it. He was living in Bombay, but it was still there. You understand? So all this talk is like, what do they mean, maintenance? You know what I'm saying? It's like this. It's nice, it sounds great. But in reality, only pure devotional service sounds great. So we have to be very, very careful when we analyze these things, is that they had that surrender, they did so much. But Prabhupada was trying to introduce the culture and Varnashram and all that. Are they accepting the Varnashram? Right? Do they want to end up as what do you call it? Kayastas? Because that's where many of them are going to end up. If you're from a Brahmin background, but you're having a job working for a Vaishya, you're a Kayasta. Are they going to buy that one? Yes. So no. So then that's the culture. So they won't use the Vedic. They'll drop down into a modern atheistic thing just because then they can be prestigious because we're professionals, so we're on the top of the pile. But in the Vedic system, they're quite a ways down in the pile. Necessary, important, doing great work, but still, that compared to Brahminical things, preaching and teaching and all that, no comparison. You understand? Probably Krishna, you know, is go Brahmana Hichayacha, not go bureaucrat Hitayacha. You know? Just because they start with a B, don't mix them up. Okay? Okay. So end here. We're getting late. Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi.